First contact. The Imperator Lux drifted silently through the Black Sea between stars, its chrome-plated hull reflecting the light of a blue giant in the distance. Inside the Galactic Empire's flagship, 1,000 alien minds worked in synchronized precision. Admirals, analysts, and diplomats representing 20 species of the Core Council. Expansion Directive 442 had been clear. Survey Sector Theta 19, establish dominion, and evaluate native species for assimilation or eradication. To the Empire, humanity was just another checkbox. Signal detected, announced Vox Commander Errol, her translucent tendrils flickering in the dim bridge light. Non-FDL radio emissions. Source: Third Planet of System 403D. Admiral Krez slithered forward, armored scales reflecting the display. Another pre-jumped civilization? Excellent. Prepare First Contact Protocol. We'll offer them sub-citizen status, maybe harvest some biomass. Analyzing data stream. A synth AI chimed. Language, primitive. Context, audiovisual broadcast. Parsing for content classification. Across the bridge, screens lit up with Earth's digital overflow. Centuries of movies, documentaries, live streams, and raw war footage pouring into the Empire's databanks. A neural node picked a random sample from the archives for initial psychological profiling. It happened to choose the Battle of Raqqa, 2137 CE. On screen, a woman in tattered armor moved through a burning city, her squad wiped out. Drones buzzed overhead. Blood streaked her face. But she kept fighting, silent, calculating, lethal. She took out an armored walker with homemade explosives. She dragged wounded civilians to cover, returned to the front, and killed 8 hostiles with a plasma blade when her ammo ran dry. Alone, outgunned, and still advancing. The footage ended in static. The silence on the bridge was profound. Errol's tendrils curled inwards, an instinctive sign of fear. Is this a dramatization? Negative, replied the AI. Time-stamped and verified. Unaltered footage from Earth's military archives. Subject identified. Human female. Rank, captain. Status, alive. Record, decorated. Krez blinked. She survived that. Confirmed. One of the diplomatic envoys, a gelatinous creature named Thriel, pulsed a sickly green. Are they all like her? No way to confirm. Yet. But digital archives show similar footage. Thousands of instances. Millions of views. The AI scrolled through thumbnails, dozens of human wars, conflicts, battles, all featuring what appear to be fearless soldiers, male and female alike. Guerrilla fighters, pilots, snipers, medics running into fire to save strangers. Every face grim, determined, unyielding. Krez's voice was quiet now. Reclassify species status. Potential threat level. The AI paused, processing. Maximum. Apex tier. The Admiral froze. They've barely developed FTL. Yes, the AI agreed. And yet they conduct warfare with psychological, emotional, and tactical brutality far exceeding galactic norms. Data suggests a cultural normalization of sacrifice, vengeance, and asymmetrical combat. Estimated simulation. If even 0.01% of humans match the woman's capabilities, the Empire could lose 5 sectors within a decade. Thriel burbled in horror. This is a pre-jump world. We're the dominant power in the Orion Spur. Krez snapped his jaws. No longer. He turned to his communications officer. Recall all scouting vessels from Sector Theta 19. Issue immediate quarantine order on Sol System. No contact, no probes, no scans. Not until we know what we're dealing with. Errol dared to ask, do we inform the Council? Krez's next words sealed it. We don't just inform them. We beg them. Show the footage. Let them decide if we face gods or monsters. The screen flickered again. The woman, Captain Elena Ruiz, stood atop a ruined building, bloodied but alive, waving a flare for evac. Behind her, fire engulfed the city. She did not flinch. The bridge of the Imperator Lux watched in silence. And somewhere, deep in the Empire's core, a decision was already forming. The humans were not to be conquered. They were to be appeased. The woman in the footage. Captain Elena Ruiz hated award ceremonies. She stood at the edge of the crowd, uniform crisp, medals gleaming, her expression unreadable. Around her, diplomats toasted her name, generals applauded, and news drones hovered silently, capturing every angle of the lioness of Raqqa. Elena didn't smile. She never did at these things. That footage, had been declassified a week ago. A 10-minute compilation of her solo engagement during the siege of Raqqa in 2137 CE had gone viral again. The military never understood how or why it resonated with people. They just knew it did. She had never meant to be a symbol. She had just wanted to survive. 5 years earlier, the city was burning. Her squad was dead. The evac transport was shot down. Communications were jammed. And Captain Elena Ruiz was alone. Enemy patrols swept the ruins. She scavenged from the fallen, ammo, supplies, adrenaline shots. She treated her wounds in silence. Her ribs were cracked, her leg torn. Still, she kept moving. She rescued 3 civilians from collapsed building. She booby-trapped the rubble behind her. She shot down a drone with a jury-rigged EMP charge. And when the enemy sent in a walker, she ran straight into its shadow, climbed at mid-fire, and tore through the hatch with a plasma cutter. By the time the relief forces arrived, she had held a key checkpoint solo for nearly 18 hours. To her, it was just another day in the hellscape of asymmetric war. Now, inside a secured UN facility in Geneva, diplomats and scientists watched the footage on repeat. But these weren't human observers. These were guests from beyond the stars. 3 high-ranking envoys from the Galactic Empire, their translator drones flickering with anxiety. Elena stood behind a mirrored window, watching them react. She didn't understand alien body language, but she knew fear when she saw it. Even across species lines, it was obvious. "These are your soldiers?" asked one of the envoys, its voice metallic and hollow. The human ambassador smiled faintly. "One of them, yes." The alien hesitated. "Are they mass-produced?" The ambassador blinked. "She's a person, not a product. But she is not exceptional among your kind." There was a pause, and then, very carefully, the ambassador replied, "Human resilience is difficult to quantify. But she's not the only one who has done things like this." The aliens recoiled as if struck. Elena's debrief. Later, in a secure interview room, Elena sat alone with a military historian and a psychologist. Not for therapy, just context. "They keep asking what motivated you," the historian said. "Was it training? Duty? Anger?" Elena rubbed her scarred hands. "None of that." "Then why?" She looked up, eyes dark. "Because no one else was coming. And those civilians needed someone who didn't quit." The psychologist made a note. "You weren't afraid?" "I was terrified," she said flatly. "You think I didn't cry? I didn't think I was going to die. But I didn't stop. Fear's just part of the job." There was a long silence. "They think you're a weapon," the historian said at last. "A prototype." Elena snorted. "I'm just a woman who didn't die that day." Galactic reaction. Back aboard the Imperator Lux, the footage continued to ripple through the highest echelons of the Empire. The Empress's personal war council reviewed Elena's mission dozens of times, their analysts desperately trying to find the catch. "Do they inject these humans with berserker hormones?" one asked. "No evidence," the AI replied. "Is she an engineered organism?" "Negative. Baseline human female. No cybernetics. No enhancements." "Then how?" "Unknown. Human psychological schema appears to permit extreme cognitive override in crisis scenarios. They act with full agency even when death is certain." That silenced the room. Elena Ruiz, to the Empire, was no longer a soldier. She was an avatar of a species capable of raw, adaptive violence far beyond strategic logic. She had fought like a monster and bled like a mortal and lived. The simulations changed. The Empire no longer modeled humans as a technological threat. They modeled them as a cultural anomaly, a species that fought to win rather than fought to survive. And worse, they celebrated it. Final scene. Elena stood alone in her apartment, medals in a box, lights low. She fed Brutus, her aging mutt, and sat beside him, watching the rain hit the glass. She hadn't killed anyone in 5 years. She didn't want to again. Her tablet buzzed. Another message from the Pentagon. Subject Elena Ruiz, classified engagement with alien diplomacy team. Your presence has been requested. She sighed. More aliens. Brutus barked once. Guess they haven't figured out we're just people, she muttered. She looked out the window at the storm. And people don't scare easy. Panic in the Empire. The council chamber of the Galactic Empire was not built for panic. 1,000 feet high, layered with holographic banners of every core species, it was meant to inspire awe, command respect, and house centuries of diplomatic tradition. Now it was filled with fear. Play the footage again, Emperor Acarix growled, his voice reverberating through the ancient hall. His reptilian crest flared with unease. The screen flickered to life again. Captain Elena Ruiz moved through the ruins of Raqqa like a ghost of war. Precision, fire, blood, and then silence. A pause. Then her face filled the screen, calm, determined, covered in ash and soot. A flare in one hand, defiance in her eyes. The footage ended. The silence that followed was oppressive. She is a singularity, murmured Minister Van, a silicon-based being whose core pulsed in anxious yellow. An outlier. Surely. Incorrect. The Empire's grand strategist replied. Humanity possesses millions with similar backgrounds. Their culture glorifies war. They teach children this behavior through fiction and games. You mean they train for violence through entertainment? Asked another ambassador in horror. They simulate it constantly, the AI assistant confirmed. Their art, games, sports, even diplomacy, often framed as conflict, dominance, and psychological endurance. The chamber erupted in overlapping languages. Panic, disbelief, arguments about potential exaggeration. Emperor Acarix raised his clawed hand. Silence fell. Run the projection. The grand strategist tapped a crystalline interface. The center of the chamber filled with a simulation, three-dimensional and horrifying. A hypothetical scenario, 100 Elena-level combatants, dropped into a mid-tier Imperial colony world. No orbital support. No reinforcements. Result: 83% loss of colony infrastructure in 48 hours. Entire planetary defense force neutralized. Psychological breakdown of civilian population due to human unpredictability and emotional tenacity. Now try with 10,000. The chamber didn't breathe. The system fell in 6 days. A full galactic military division lost. Enemy command infrastructure infiltrated and subverted via civilian networks. Cultural domination by heroism narratives followed within weeks. They turned trauma into mythology, the AI said coldly. Each death becomes a rallying cry. Their defeats make them stronger. Minister Vin spoke again, his voice small. Are we outmatched? Militarily? Acarix scoffed. We can burn their worlds from orbit. Then why haven't we? The answer came from someone no one expected. The historian caste representative, an ancient being of moss and stone. Because we have already lost, it said. Not through war, but fear. We saw one of them. One. And we're now debating whether to grovel or flee. The truth echoed through the chamber like a death knell. Imperial intelligence fallout. In the Empire's intelligence core, deeper than the public council ever saw, black box analysts huddled over Earth data streams. They weren't looking for ships or weapons now. They were studying humans. Social behavior, emotional triggers, loyalty patterns, historical conflicts. The analysts were horrified to discover that humans, under stress, bond harder. They evolved socially during warfare. Conflict didn't fracture them, it galvanized them. Worse yet, they recorded laughter in war zones. Jokes between comrades. Gallows humor under fire. They laugh at death, whispered one agent. No, replied another. They laugh with death. One analyst, after reviewing 3 hours of footage from various wars, quietly handed in his resignation and left without a word. The Emperor's decision. In his private chamber, Emperor Acarix stood before a simulation of Earth, a small blue world with no interstellar fleet, no galactic empire, and no formal military presence in space. And yet, prepare a peace proposal, he ordered. The grand strategist blinked. My liege, they haven't reached our borders, and still we're terrified. If they do, if they grow, we risk extinction by the most illogical force in the galaxy, a species that does not fear pain, loss, or hopelessness. You believe they'll expand? They will. Maybe not this decade or the next, but they will. And when they arrive, I want them to remember who bowed first. Diplomatic shockwaves. News of the Empire's peace outreach rippled across the galaxy. Many Outer Rim species were confused. Earth? The pre-jump world? Why sue for peace with them? But those who had access to the footage, those who saw the Lioness of Raqqa, understood. They watched the woman crawl across broken concrete to drag a wounded child from the rubble. Watched her pick up a weapon with a shattered hand. Watched her stare down a tank without flinching. She didn't just survive. She made survival look inevitable. That terrified the stars. Closing scene. In a dimmed council war room, the final peace draft was reviewed. Not a surrender, too insulting. Not an alliance, too forward. Instead, a formal declaration of non-aggression, technological exchange, and cultural respect, translated into every Earth language. At the top, a simple salutation. To the humans of Earth. We have seen what one of your kind can do. We hope never to see what all of you can. Terms of peace. The galactic diplomatic vessel Obsequium Lux entered Earth orbit silently, its surface shimmering with refracted starlight. Thousands of satellites scrambled to redirect telescopes. Air defense systems briefly lit up in panic, and the UN Security Council entered emergency session within minutes. But no weapons were fired. The ship broadcast only one message, in every known human language. We come in peace. We seek an accord. We have seen enough. The world held its breath. Arrival. The landing site was chosen carefully, neutral, secure, symbolic. Geneva. A military perimeter was established, not for defense, but out of sheer habit. Humanity didn't understand what was happening, only that something big had arrived. When the alien delegation emerged, tall, translucent beings, a massive beetle-like figure in ceremonial armor, and a floating cube humming with energy, Elena Ruiz was watching from the edge of the crowd, unarmed, unnoticed, until they turned to her. The Empire's lead envoy, a long-limbed creature known as Suvex, walked directly to Elena. It bowed low, reverent. Elena Ruiz, it said, voice translated with eerie clarity. Lioness of Raqqa, we offer you honor and our gratitude for not advancing further. Elena blinked. I what? Suvex raised a hand, trembling slightly. You are proof of what humanity is. We watched. We understood. You are enough. Behind him, Aides presented a gleaming data crystal. This contains our formal offer. Non-aggression, trade, knowledge, respect. She stared. Why me? Because we feared you. Global response. The UN read the document. It was genuine. No hidden clauses. No veiled threats. The Empire would share star charts, translation software, basic FTL theory, all in exchange for peace. And a single request. No human military expedition beyond the solar system without Imperial escort. Earth's diplomats didn't understand the fear behind that clause. But they accepted. Who were they to turn down peace with an interstellar power? The deal was signed. Celebrations echoed around the world. But in the secure chambers beneath the UN, Elena Ruiz sat alone with Suvex and a few key military leaders. Tell me the truth, she said, voice low. You're scared of humanity. Yes, Suvex admitted. You make weapons from scrap. You endure where others collapse. One of you, just one, made our simulations predict collapse of Empire-class civilizations. You taught us that power is not fleets or technology. It is will, and humans have too much. She narrowed her eyes. So this peace is really fear. Is there a difference? Suvex replied gently. The hero nobody asked to be. After the treaty, the media erupted. Elena's face was everywhere again. The woman who made the stars kneel, one headline read. She hated it. She hadn't asked for this. She hadn't won a war. She hadn't built a ship. She had simply refused to die. Her old squad mates messaged her constantly, some joking, others worried. Her mother called to ask if she was now technically a galactic ambassador. Elena didn't know what to say. All she knew was this. The universe had blinked first, and now they expected her to be more than just a survivor. The Senate speech. 3 weeks later, she was invited, required, really, to speak before the Galactic Senate on neutral territory. She stood alone at the center of an impossibly vast hall, filled with thousands of alien delegates. Cameras streamed her image across hundreds of worlds. She wore a simple Earth military uniform. No medals, no weapon. "I'm not here as a diplomat," she began. "I'm not a symbol. I'm a person." Silence. "I did what I did because people were going to die if I didn't. I didn't fight to impress anyone. I fought because we're human, and humans don't back down when it matters." A murmur swept the chamber. "I don't want war. None of us do. But if it ever comes, know that we don't fight because we hate. We fight because we protect, and we endure. And if we have to, we win." Somewhere in the chamber, a nervous envoy fainted. The final word. Back on Earth, the treaty held. The stars remained distant, but no longer indifferent. In a quiet neighborhood in Virginia, Elena Ruiz walked her dog, Brutus. The neighbors waved. A passing child called her the alien slayer. She didn't correct them. She didn't need to. In her heart, she knew the truth. She had shown the galaxy what it meant to be human, not with weapons, but with will. Final line. If one woman could make them sue for peace, what happens when they meet all of us?